We're here. Awesome.
We are here.
We are here. Wherever here might be. Oh, look. People liking the Twitter post, people joining us.
Welcome. Welcome.
Welcome in. All right, 4 viewers. Cool. Got to give it a second to get started.
We are so excited. Episode 47.
Episode 47.
Holy smokes. We're just burning through them now.
I know. It's getting the numbers are getting up there.
Right? And like we even took a break, right? Admittedly. But like now we're getting to the point where like, once we get over 50, we got to do something for 50.
Yes.
We got to do something big for 50. Maybe in person?
They ain't never letting anyone going to be in person again. Everyone's going to have to live on Zoom meetings for the rest of our days. With their isolation bubbles or some shit.
Here, you do it from your office, and then I'll go into the studio.
Yeah.
There you go. 6 feet social distancing in person,
I think they relaxed it here in Michigan to is it this weekend it starts with 10 people or something?
10 people. 10
Yeah,
people.
10 people at a time.
I got a mask, man. We'll come in,
Yeah.
It'll just be boop, 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 boop.
People are making those masks stylish. Like humans figure out a way.
Yeah,
some look pretty cool.
Yeah, we adopt, or adapt, excuse me.
Yeah,
we do
adapt both. So if anyone wonders if you hear me coughing, it's because just before this I inhaled some water.
I have been there.
So I'm an idiot apparently.
There's no fixing the inhalation of liquid.
Yeah, it doesn't go well. I think I've got it all out of me. I waited a minute to start, and I'm like, I think I got it on me. So I'm like, don't worry, I don't think I'm dying.
You know what's crazy? So this is gonna creep you out. As a human, if they filled your lungs up with fluid and the all of the mass around you was also fluid, you'd be able to breathe and still live.
Yes. What was they have that hyper oxygenated fluid?
NASA.
I remember hearing about that. That's pretty cool.
Astronauts, well, at least this was the last thing I read about it, but it was like a NASA astronaut that was doing this. Basically, like they were thinking about maybe not having oxygen-rich helmets and just filling it with fluid. And he went through this, and he's like, "It's possible. It's painful and it's terrible because they're shoving fluid down your lungs." I'm like, man, that's like exactly what happened in the Matrix. Like everything in the Matrix happened to be real, actually.
Yeah, we're all living in a simulation.
Facebook is getting paid off of us. We're a part of some machine. And if you break out of the machine, you're a cyber terrorist. Even though I don't know, he was kind of sketchy. Morpheus was a little sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. They're working on I think they're working on another Matrix, aren't they? Is it Matrix or what was?
I don't know if it'll ever be the same.
No. Well, they get Keanu Reeves and the Wachowskis back in it.
Maybe.
Because it's all about the vision. I got to admit, the Wachowskis are geniuses. Like they done some cool stuff.
Definitely.
You got the Matrix. There's a few different shows. Sense8 was one of their productions.
Oh, wait, I've never seen any of their stuff outside of Matrix. I thought that was their claim to fame. No, they've done a few other things too, and they're just very talented. They're still at the same level of Matrix, like cult following type of.
Sense8's really fucking off the wall. Okay. It's unfortunately it got canceled, but wow, yeah, Trinity would be old. Well, Keanu Reeves still looks young, but of course he was really young in the Matrix. So
yeah, that's true.
Did you know Will Smith was supposed to be Neo?
No. Oh my God, that would have been dope. I know he's probably kicking himself.
I'll send you the video. It's the most hysterical watch because he breaks down why he turned it down and why he regrets turning it down. Yeah, because you know what he turned it down for?
Because
Wild Wild West.
Believe in it? What?
He is so full of regret over this. He's got a video that someone recorded it's on his vlog. Just type in Will Smith Matrix Neo, and it's just a great video because he thought the Wachowskis were so out there that there's no way. He goes, "This sounds stupid." That's what he's like. Wow. And Val Kilmer was supposed to be Morpheus.
I don't know who Val Kilmer is.
He was popular in the '90s. He's an older actor. He did a few action shows, but he's not popular anymore, of course. But it was just kind of funny, and because he turned it down, and because they put in Keanu Reeves, that shifted to where they go, well, we wanted a black character, so we'll make Morpheus a black character, and then they chose him. So there was like a whole shifting of things.
And that was my introduction to Lawrence Fishburne. And I know he worked before, but for me, I was born in '91, right? So I remember Matrix being like one of the first movies that I went to that I can like actually remember, right? Back when there were double features and stuff.
I forget how much younger you are than me. I was born in '75, so
yeah, I still got a whole lot of media to consume.
Yeah,
I'll be 29 this year.
Wow,
I know, it's crazy.
It just adds up fast, man. Yeah. We should probably talk about some hacking. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like.
We should at least introduce ourselves.
Oh, that's right. People, yeah. We're a couple guys that like movies, except for Xavier.
Well, I'm starting to get into them more. I'm 15 years late to the party.
Oh, we don't talk about the Batman. Yeah, that we don't talk about. There was a really bad Batman, and I think Val Kilmer was the star of that one. So he was popular, but then he was also very unpopular in a couple bombed movies.
That's all it takes.
Anyways,
well, I'm Xavier D. Johnson.
And I'm Tom Lawrence.
And this is How They Got Hacked. Yep. Episode 47.
47, man.
47, man. Yeah, I'm still like, man, it's amazing. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you guys for supporting us. We are ecstatic to bring you some of this news. Me and Tom are actually been talking about kind of some plans for the channel, kind of some ideas around the formatting, the cadence. I don't know how much we want to let out just yet, but maybe once we formalize a little bit more, we'll kind of come to you with what our plans are.
Yeah, we want to do this. We want to do some, not just news. We want to do some deeper dives. We want to show some tools that we use, how we decipher things and stuff like that. And it's similar, it's different because we're talking more about hacking tools. But it's like yesterday, even on my live stream, I started right off with Wireshark because I jumped right into explaining DNS and TLS and SNI
DOH.
and
people SNI, get oh my god, that was like mind expanding for people too.
Yeah, because people don't always realize what pieces of information you may or may not be leaking, how they're recovered, and of course, there was some validation of I wanted to validate the way Cloudflare responds to DNS, because there was definitely a post in the Cloudflare forum that I found concerning, that I wanted to hopefully find out was mitigated, and it was the way Cloudflare offers filtered servers, but they only filter if you queried them at port 53. If you queried them at 853, they respond with unfiltered. So the protection you think you're getting because you added extra protection by adding TLS gets broken, and they weren't disclosing that. They're fixed it now, but it's kind of an interesting, those little things like that. And of course, you want to validate you don't want to just assume. It's better to validate, jump on a Wireshark. So swinging the other way, but we were talking about is me and Xavier talking about putting together some tool videos, talking about how you look at things on the back end, or just covering any one little tool related to DNS, like how you do full. Me and you had this discussion because it turns out for that person's maybe following, but someone discovered that my domain, and it's because I don't check it very often, could do a full domain transfer. There was a flaw in the configuration of my DNS. But how do you find that? How do you test for that? What are the processes? And it's kind of a fun walkthrough of like how you walk through someone's DNS. By the way, it's fixed. You can check it now, but of course it could be broken again. I don't know. I didn't check before I started the video.
That's what happens when you don't run your own DNS. Like you cannot sometimes, you can only manage what you can manage. Some stuff's managed for you.
We do, yeah, and some people manage to fuck it up for you. And it's specifically for me, it was A2 Hosting decided to open up my DNS to the world.
Oh, wow.
So that happens, but part of it too is admitting that it happened.
And like that's a huge thing. Like disclosure that's an ethical thing,
Yeah. Oh God, we could have a rant about ethics, man. That's even a topic.
Yeah, I mean, I bring that. You bring the lawyer on for.
Yeah, well, it's two. This is one little sidetrack, but it's something related. Me and you both do this, and me and another friend who I'll leave out of it, and I'll share with you offline some stuff he disclosed, which is it's not an ethics problem, it's a what the fuck problem. And I actually was joking, and I think this will ring true for you. Half these NDAs you sign are not just like to protect confidential information. It's so you don't go, what the fuck? Who set this shit up like this?
Yeah, it's at least he won't tell anybody else now.
Yeah. It's not even about like actual confidential. It's just like, yeah, it's anyways, getting way off topic, but definitely
But yeah, I mean, just to kind of circle back around, I know that even beyond the tool thing, because I'm doing Tools Day, which is Tuesday, my live stream,
I like it.
and we'll be playing around with a whole slew of hacker tools, RFID stuff, Bluetooth stuff, Wi-Fi stuff. Tools already got locks and hardware for CAN bus and radio stuff. So I already have a slew of tools already, and then we're going to work with the community to get some more tools and kind of bringing some of that over to Tom's, world, like hacking his Tesla or his Tesla, right? Like we may have to go rent one and hack Tom's Tesla, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And lucky for us, actually, I can just throw this out there. I'm working with the car hacking village now, and I could use testers to actually hack a Tesla. We have a Tesla to be hacked, but I'll get into that later. Nevertheless, having the format of the show maybe not be so frequent, but kind of bring a greater value and maybe even be a bit longer. But then having a platform like Patreon where you can actually see into our process for how we generate the show, right? So you can actually maybe see how we generate the news portion, and we have some other portions of the show that we're thinking about. One of the things that we were thinking about was doing at least one write up. Maybe it's from Tavis or Ormandy over at Google, or maybe it's just community, right? Maybe it's just a write up of that $25,000 cross-site scripting bug from Facebook. But then also diving deeper into some case, right? And of course, this won't be something that's right now we're doing bleeding edge stuff. What you see now is from the last 48 to 72 hours worth of news, right? And that's the reason why we do it weekly. But being able to move this format, not only will you be able to get more news from a greater span of time, but also you'll be able to see into something like Equifax. And if possible, being able to work with time to stand up that infrastructure that has that version of Apache Struts and going to go get that vulnerability and actually exploiting that vulnerability, recording it and demoing it and testing it together, but then having you as a patron be able to actually see that process. So me and Tom always have to be on Zoom anyway because we can't really work together in person. Recording that, giving that to you throughout the process, and like showing you exactly how the show is being produced, and then we go live.
And one of the other challenges that we're facing, and let all of our audience know here, is YouTube does not let you monetize a lot of hacking content. They just demonetize it. That's one of the reasons we're bringing up Patreon. It's kind of a challenge. I mean, it takes a lot of time to produce all this content and everything else we do. We have to take time away from our daily vocation, so to speak, of customers paying us. So that's why we're talking about setting it up on a Patreon. So, makes it easy. You get access to content.
It's easier for, if you want to support us, you can support us. But of course, just watching the stream is support enough.
Yeah. So it's, we want to make it accessible for other people as well. That's why we post a lot here. But anyways, we should probably get started on some news now. I think we laid it out there. More stuff and more good things coming. We're rebooting
more good things coming.
So you share the screen because I'm doing this. So
I will share. Give me 1 second. Oh, I need to. I'm a participant. I need some permissions.
What? You need permission?
Yes.
Let's see. More.
Permission.
It doesn't. Here, I'll do that. If I make you the host, you can do whatever you want. There you go.
All right. There we go. Social engineering 101.
Mm-hmm.
Just ask.
Just ask. It just works.
Just asking for it. Can you still see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Oh, it says screen sharing is paused. That's interesting.
Strange, because it's working.
All right.
It's the newest version of it, too. I don't know if you noticed that there was an update recently.
Yeah, there's been a lot of updates recently. Every time I turn it off, it's like, you want to update?
Hey, they bought our favorite people over at Keybase, so...
Yes, and we should actually maybe discuss that a bit, because I know people are probably itching to hear about that and kind of our take on it. So, but nevertheless, diving into this...
we'll dive into this, and we'll get to the other one.
Of course, yeah. Ragnar Locker, right? And Ragnarlock is an interesting one. it is going through quite the leap and bounds to be able to install ransomware onto your machine. So now, forensics people are fairly used to the ransomware thing, understand how to do the case, how to grab the intel, how to, know exactly what changed with the file system, the point of compromise, all these different things. And what happens is malware developers, they slowly and steadily increase the volume in which, they inflict the pain. And so now we're getting to the point where uh, these these attackers are using virtual machines, right? And we're talking, potentially hundreds of megabytes that are coming over the wire just to deploy a payload that is kilobytes in size, right? So this is going to show you, um, how important and kind of how critical it's starting to become for them to land their payload, and the loops that they're willing to go through to be able to kind of get that payload on your machine. And what makes this special is right now there, is not a way to know that a virtual machine is, malicious, right?
Yeah.
Is there, like, they don't, there's no real, agent on your machine that you can run that'll say that VM does weird stuff. So yeah, ransomware gangs are definitely innovating. Uh, we're talking about a 122 megabyte installer with a 282 megabyte virtual image inside, all to conceal a 49 kilobyte ransomware executable. So
Wow.
uh,
That's
first time.
if it works, it's not overkill. That's a great quote down there at the bottom.
If it works, it's not overkill.
I mean, you think about this is from a deployment standpoint. I mean, loading virtual appliances, loading VirtualBox, easy to do. They're publicly available to download. They're not suspicious because they're coming from a pretty common site, so they're not going to flag anything pulling that part of the data. But like you said, it's all to obfuscate this small, tiny little stub installer to get that on there.
I mean, and let's really look deeper into this, right? Like, they're already using a GPO task, right?
Mhm.
So if they're doing GPO, you know what they got? Domain admin.
Yep.
Because that's how you use GPO in a Windows 80 environment. So you already got problems before they're getting to the point where they're installing virtual machine on every host. Oh boy.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
And and this is I see people talk about shadow copies in the very earliest days of ransomware. You could do it, like ransomware from was it like 2015 maybe? It's been a long time. Like the earliest ones, there was always like this shadow protect and things like. There's a couple of utilities that would just re-grab your files back out of shadow copies, but now the ransomware is like it doesn't just knock out the shadow copies. It goes a step further. It looks for every service that also may do things like shadow copy or have some type of backup. It knocks out backup programs. It specifically looks for like everyone we use, like the MSP 360, all the big MSP tools, Veeam, all of those. It runs through the list of backups. It shuts those down. It also looks through all the big RMM tools, your SolarWinds, your ConnectWise. It knocks all those tools out. It goes through and knocks out anything it can find that could potentially slow it down or protect you, and then it ransoms. So
Wow. Intense. And the crazy thing is we talked about this last week. It's still using Eternal Blue, SMB V1 to
yeah,
spread. So it's like some of this stuff, it starts to get very repetitive. SMB, RDP, um, even right here, this great chart sourced by Coveware, you can kind of see the trends. RDP compromise actually down some. Email phishing up a bit in the last year. But more than anything, that's going to probably be a steady rise that always is going to stay rising in one direction will be the software vulnerabilities. Because if you don't patch and you combine that with someone clicking a link, or you combine that with an exposed RDP, you can guarantee that you're going to get compromised via RDP or email phishing. When in reality, it comes down to not using V1 SMB. It's just kind of what it comes down to.
and it's crazy when you see that in there. But we all know, and we get calls all the time. We had another session today. reviewing this stuff, like they looking for a new IT company because they knew the old one wasn't updating anything, and we're looking at it going, "Yep, it looks like you have a lot of all out of date stuff." So, it's the good news is we're getting in there to mitigate it because they're not calling because there's a problem, other than they know things aren't being done.
Right. Percentages of organizations that paid the ransom. So it seems like I'm imagining that this intel is not only generated by blue teamers, but also people who are deploying these ransoms to kind of understand, hey, if I deploy in Germany, they're probably not going to give me my money. UK probably is not going to give me my money, but India, you know, the higher likelihood of giving me my payout. Sweden, same thing. So um, that's just interesting to kind of look at this data. US is smack dab in the middle.
Yeah.
Which means, it'll probably continue to happen here.
I'm surprised India's on such a high side on there. I wonder because
Backups are expensive.
backups are expensive, and I wonder if a lot of it is predatory pricing where they give them a discount because they know they don't have a lot of money, so they're just more likely to pay it because they charge less. They've done that with there's a few of the ransomwares where either they avoid certain former Soviet state areas or Russia itself. So the ransomware gangs, or they've given discounts for people who claim to be or can prove that they are in those other countries. Because the ultimate, once you've gone through the trouble getting it deployed, it's not like an all or nothing. It's a negotiation, because if they say, no, we're not paying you, all your work is for nothing. But if you get some money, it's better than no money.
Right. I mean, if you look here, there's a China here, there's a Germany here, there's a UK here, there's a US here, there's no Russia.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, that's a good point. There is no Russia in here.
No Russia
I wonder where these are being deployed from. That's a really good insight.
Oh man, more intel information on this, but of course, as usual, the link will be in the description. You can go and dig into that some more. Yeah, ransomwares, man. I mean, it is to the point now where we want to tell people don't pay the ransom, but you kind of want to tell people to pay the ransom, and at the same time, you really just want to decrypt the files. We're at a really interesting time right now.
Yeah, it's backups, and you do everything you can to prevent. That's even why it was on the whole topic. The new Cloudflare DNS, they filter out command and control servers, and Cloudflare keeps a pretty strong list of them. So it's one more layer of protection. It's not like the end-all protection, but it's one more piece of protection.
Right. And I'd imagine that Cloudflare is seeing the command and control servers communication, so they get to probably fingerprint and identify them fairly easy.
Yeah, and then they quickly start sinkholing the DNS on them, and away they go, making the cloud fronting harder for the malware companies, because they don't just rely on IPs. That's not a reliable way to do it. So,
right. I'm looking at my next one, which was a link to a tool, but I don't know if I want to talk about that one just yet.
Well, we'll save it for Tool Tuesday.
Yeah. Let's see. Here I got a cool one. Remote code execution.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's always a juicy one.
Yeah, Mo says backing up is cheaper than paying. Yes, it's just so hard. It's kind of like if they didn't force people to have insurance on their cars, they wouldn't, type thing. Like they would just go, oh, wow. That car is, after I wrecked, I realized I should have just paid that. And granted, Michigan's a really suck place to use as an example, but because we pay a lot in insurance, but it's the same concept. That little bit you pay is worth so much more.
Save you a lot. Here, let me make this a little bit bigger. So, looks like an internal test, quote unquote, dog food, which I'm not really sure exactly what dog food is. Here, let me open this up in a new tab. It looks like this is something that is, it is a quote unquote term that is used, dog fooding. I've heard of dog fooding before, which is, eat your own dog food, drink your own champagne. That
yes, kind of and Google's actually notorious for that, which is good. They do, prior to rolling things out to the greater public, they test, like even like the whole calendar app and everything related G Suite was used internally by Google itself prior to its release. They
Right.
do a lot of internal usage of their product to develop it, which is good because there are companies that do develop and maybe don't use our product as much.
Right. Like if Zoom just used Google Hangouts, that would be hilarious.
Well, I think that's why Google has such a problem with chat applications, is because every team used one. So each team deployed their chat application. So now you're like, Google seems to have 7 chat apps. Yep.
Yeah. Oh man. So it looks like somebody was playing around with some testing and was able to issue some requests to some internal endpoints, which could have led to remote code execution. So it looks like operations sends a GET request to an endpoint. The endpoint expects something that is called a descriptor document as an answer, which I presume is something that's written in JSON. Um, yep, it's RESTful. So basically, looks like apparently if it fails, it'll give some internal information in the error message, which okay, that's not so crazy. But then if it actually works, then you get more internal requests that you can issue, which I
Ah,
guess is his potential remote code execution. He got $31,000 for this, so he knows something. Probably can't speak extremely clearly to it because it's a $31,000 Google bug. I also like how it's 31337. Like I think that that's just
that's no coincidence.
a
That's
really good
Google.
number.
Yeah.
um so yeah, he kind of goes into what his approach actually was, and he's basically looking for different types. And if you're a developer of any system, you kind of know that strong types and doing the typing shit is pretty important. That's the reason why I like Golang so much, and moved away from other non-statically typed or strongly typed languages, because a strongly typed language will allow you to be able to make sure that somebody isn't passing a bunch of characters to a function that is only supposed to accept integers and then overflow somehow, some way. It just kind of tamps down on a lot of that kind of stuff. So it looks like basically he was able to play with some deployments, play with some templates. Basically, he just poked around at those internal APIs, right? Actually testing them, seeing how they worked, and trying to actually make templates that were crafted to do evil. He's not being extremely specific here, but nevertheless, after some time, it looks like he was able to get some uh, you know, some elevated access based on some of the development manager API methods that he had been exposed to uh, due to his his basically elevation and privilege at that point. So passing these bad descriptor documents allowed him to be able to escalate his privileges, and he's able to now see things that aren't released, that are pre-release, and things that are quote unquote internal, also known as the dog food class of objects.
That that's interesting, and it's undoubtedly he was using some fuzzing to keep pushing that data through there.
Certainly, probably using a burp suite or curl or something like that. More than likely, because that's the only real way to truly test APIs, is to be in the middle and crafting those packages, because the client that he's dealing with is the Google site. So outside of the Google site, he would have to use the CLI, which is quote unquote a Google client, but he could hook into the stream of that data using Burp Suite, right? So it's interesting. I always tell people, when dealing with new, and these types of bugs live everywhere. They also probably live over in AWS in the exact same manner. When using new functionality, hooking up that burp suite and actually seeing those calls that are being made, and tampering with that data is where like you make it rain money, quite literally. All new functions have bugs. In this instance, the TLDR, he fuzzed and he got 31K. So, I mean, go fuzzing, right?
Yeah, I think there's still a lot, and this is not something that I do much of. What's that other guy who streams? He does some fuzzing.
Stoke Frederick.
Yeah, he's probably. I think he's got a couple of videos on that particular topic, and it's
Hmm.
there's a lot of low hanging fruit out there. The
Cross-site
potential to get
scripting.
stuff.
There's a
Hmm.
$20,000 Facebook cross-site scripting bug in the post message function. Like, like you use post message every day. Like the status that uses post message, sending a message on a comment, sending a message anywhere basically. uh, um, so basically, we talked about staying patched. There are a lot of people that have not been patching still, even though
Really,
yes,
another Pulse Secure?
another Paul Secure VPN,
Ah,
a law firm at that, right? So the Our Evil Gang is threatening to release some data, and it really comes down to this, right? If you're gonna have this VPN still out in the world, you have to expect to be breached, and you're lucky if it's not ransomware. They're talking about a $42 million ransom. Uh, that's a lot of money. Last week, the Our Evil Gang, or Sudonokubi, because they have been very, very active. Probably one of the most popular, at least on this show for sure.
yeah.
uh, they already released over 2 gigabytes of legal documents. So, and this is the law firm that works for Lady Gaga. They also claim to have some Donald Trump info, which I'd expect to get leaked in like October. Some FBI guys are looking into this, according to Bleeping Computer. It all comes down to a unpatched server, right? At the end of the day, you gotta patch. It's just
And
you had since last year, this time last year,
yeah,
basically.
because I'm almost positive the Money Exchange, the British company that does the money trade.
Yep,
We talked
Travelex.
TravelX on
Yep,
unpatched Pulse Secure, wasn't it?
yep, yeah.
So here we are. We took a hiatus, and we come back, and we're still seeing unpatched Pulse Secure, which is,
And which is being infected by basically the same group.
yeah,
Man, like right now, if you wanted to see what ransomware looks like in the real world, go and get a vulnerable version of this and deploy it. You're probably going to run across Sudonukabi. I'm just going to throw it out there. Like if you really want to be a researcher and build a relationship with these attackers and try and see what it's like to get ransomed and actually pay the ransom, that's maybe I'll even do that just for shits and giggles. I mean,
oh
it's kind of sketch. They may come a little bit hard at me at that point. They're like, why would
yeah,
you why would you do that? But I mean they go hard at what's his name? Troy Hunt and
yep.
all the rest of the big news guys. It happens.
It's the risk.
Yeah, it is the risk. I guess long story short, they're not thinking about paying this ransom. Um,
And they exfilled the data. That's going to be the tricky part.
yep, the exfil of the data is you have to assume that with every ransomware breach now.
Yeah.
And I think that like you had to assume it to begin with. I mean, the actual motion of encryption means that they had to copy the data into memory and then do something in memory to
They
turn
have the
it
level of access,
right.
and undoubtedly, if they have an unpatched Pulse Secure VPN, they probably don't have any monitoring of the data, so they don't have the logs to know how much was taken. That would be my guess. One of those little pieces that are missing, but it's going to be
One
a
of those
mess.
ones.
And like you said, for political gain, they won't release any of the stuff. Anything related to politicians won't get released too closer to the election.
Right. And it's going to be released, most certainly going to be released.
Oh yeah,
And I mean, we're talking about the ransom doubling from 21 to 42 million. So they know the data that they have. Like they
yeah.
quite literally understand the data that they have. And I think the lawyers should too. But again, if the lawyers cough over $42 million, that data's still getting leaked in October.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
just the nature of what's going to happen.
Yeah, someone will dump it.
Someone will dump it, even if it's unintentional, because we all know hackers get hacked, right?
Oh, yeah.
We've
And matter of
seen
fact,
this.
we know many hackers that will just store things in public buckets somewhere because it's convenient, and someone
Right.
else finds it later. Like, hey, look, this is where they were stuffing
It'll
data.
just be on paste bin somewhere.
Yeah, someone runs through the basement. Hey, look, that looks important.
Wow, it says a lot of Trump in this. This almost looks believable. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy world right now. It's kind of even hard to like think out loud about it because it's just so crazy. Did you hear about the Bluetooth attacks?
No, I've not really dug into those.
Oh man. So most Bluetooth devices
Probably mine.
yes, and a bunch of mine, they are vulnerable to impersonation attacks. 100% vulnerable. Here, let me try and zoom into this a bit. So, long story short, security researchers from 3 universities in Europe have found multiple weaknesses in the Bluetooth protocol, which could allow attackers to impersonate a paired device, establish a secure connection with the victim. We're talking about 31 Bluetooth devices from Apple, Intel, Qualcomm, Broadcom, Cypress, laptops, smartphones, IoT, all of it. The straight up ponage. I can't wait to hear about this. I'm almost positive it's going to be a black hat in some way, some shape, some form. Right? There's no way that we're not going to hear more about this. Um,
And what worries me a bit is Bluetooth is what unlocks my car.
right.
So I have a big Bluetooth device with 4 wheels, goes 0 to 60 really fast.
Yeah. Well, I think the next thing is okay. How do we make sure that the Bluetooth doesn't interact with the gas pedal in any shape or fashion on the car? Because then at that point, the worst thing they can do is just play like sex noises through your speakers or like
Well,
farts or
no.
something.
The way there's 2 uses of Bluetooth in Tesla. One is for my audio and the infotainment, but separate is the Bluetooth for what unlocks my doors. That's my key.
That's
So you have the
true. It's not
Tesla app,
NFC.
right? It's not
Oof.
NFC. The Tesla app uses the Bluetooth as a communication layer. Now, people have sniffed it. They've done a good job of encrypting the transport of it. But if you can impersonate my
Yeah,
phone,
there's no use in being the man in the middle if you could just be the man.
right, right.
Oh,
So
that's
we'll have to see how
interesting.
that plays out. I don't know enough, and that's something interesting is they don't. Tesla doesn't have like white papers on. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've not seen any white papers on exactly how the Tesla security works. I do know, including our mutual friend who does car hacking, is
Mhm.
been pretty impressed with the level of security in there. It's not arbitrary, and no one has broken it yet.
Nice.
So
Well,
which I think that's, I mean, as much as we see all these attacks on the other car companies, what's Tesla being born of tech, so to speak, compared to Ford or GM, and we covered some of the problems before. Hack 5 did a great demo on the how to hack the Ford key system
oh yeah.
because they were using like a rotating number.
Yep.
So
I don't. Did you hear about the Daimler leak?
no.
Oh, here. Let me see. Um, you're going to love this if you haven't heard about this. So Mercedes-Benz OLU source code got leaked
Ooh.
because Daimler allowed anyone to register on its on-premise GitLab servers. So,
Oh, so get clone Mercedes.
and we're talking about future stuff. We're talking about
Oh.
stuff in the future, which is going to be pretty hard to kind of get around. So the OLU is the thing that actually connects the car to the internet. Long story short, this is how you actually get live vehicle data off of the entire car, which is one big sensor. GitLab was exposed,
Oh,
allowed anyone to be
oh,
able
scroll
to.
up. Scroll up. I want you to read that line right there that says GitLab servers using something as simple as Google Dorks.
Where's that at?
Right
Oh
there,
yeah,
right?
here we go. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Wow.
He literally just Google dorked his way into
That's
Damir.
if any of you guys want some homework to do, just type go actually if you go to GitHub and search for Google Dorks, there's a GitHub repository of good Google Dorks to get you
There
started
you
with
go.
it.
There you go.
So,
And yeah, dorking is extremely fun. Also, if you want to get into dorking, my first place that I used to go for dorks was the exploit database. Um, And they have amazing dorks. Let's see if I can pull some up. Exploit DB. Um, it's I don't know if they still have them on here, but they used to have a bunch of dorks. Google hacking database. There you go. So if you just wanted to, I don't know, be mean, you could go here, and this is from today. So I'm sure that I ain't afraid. There you go. Show IT. That's a open directory. Yeah, look, don't touch. Yeah, so that's literally what he did to be able to get access to futuristic code. More than 580 Git repositories. He uploaded it to Mega, also to his own GitLab server. Allegedly have a copy of this somewhere. Is some good stuff in there. I will say that if you can get a copy of it, go look at it. It will open your mind as to how that part of the world works. It's nice. Yeah. So
I
leaks,
I
leaks
seen someone
everywhere.
said your IP address has been blocked for suspicious traffic. No self said that, and someone I've tried to explain it. It's like if you look at my laptop, and if you look when I click on VPN, there's a list that extends. Like there's a scroll wheel on my VPN list. Look, if one's blocked, I got a couple VPNs ready.
I
I'm
ain't
just
worried.
saying.
Worst come to worst, if they get the root IP address, all I gotta do is just unplug the modem, plug it back up, and all of a sudden, new IP.
And specifically in pfSense, it's even faster. Go to you can specify your own MAC address, so just swap your MAC address, and it'll force it. Comcast will think it's switched, and you'll get a new IP address.
There you go.
Wide open west.
Nice.
Actually, most cable companies will do that for you
Because that's how they do it. That's the identity. They're like they're mapping MAC addresses to IP addresses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just swap a MAC address, or just increment one MAC one by one digit. Pick random part of there. It's all hex.
Done.
Yeah. Change the 5 to an F. You're done. There you go. Got a new MAC address. Got a new IP. Moving on.
New IP. Oh man, we probably just gave somebody a really bad idea of how to burn through all the IPs and their ISP. Eventually, they'll catch on, guys. Don't be a dick about it. Just use it sparingly.
Yeah, definitely.
How to hack. It is divulged into how to be a hacker 101.
How to be
Step
a hacker.
1, go to Google. Step 2, look for open directories. Step 3, turn on the VPN. Wait.
Wait, we got these out of order. Start with a VPN.
Step 0, turn on VPN. Oh my God. Speaking of VPN, this is gonna make you really cringe because you already know that somebody has got all of these creds. I don't know who Sanix is, but apparently the Ukrainian police was a little frustrated with him. He had a lot of money, some cell phones, some Mentos, some US bills over here.
A lot of US bills.
I don't even know if this is real money, but he's got an iPhone here. It looks like he has a Tic Tac case full of
somethings.
Yeah, for sure. It's got some SIM cards. This is like the hacker 101 setup, right? Like he's got everything he needs to bug out. Apparently he's out here selling combos. If you don't know what combos are, that's usernames and passwords, and millions at that. So 773 million email addresses, 21 million unique passwords. That is nuts. Also PIN codes for bank cards, e-wallets, compromised PayPal accounts. This dude had nearly 2 terabytes of stolen data. Cell phones, 3K in US dollars, 7K in his home country's currency. He's basically going to get charged with unauthorized interference with computers and unauthorized sale or sale of information with limited access to stored in computers. Long story short, he's getting in trouble for hacking. I don't even think he's getting in trouble for it doesn't even look like he's getting in trouble for selling the release
sale
of it.
Or dissemination of information with limited access. Yeah,
it's like that's a crazy kind of charge to get hit with. It's just one big charge, huh?
Yeah,
or is that 2? It looks like it's
Oh,
2.
yeah, and unauthorized sale or dissemination of information with limited access stored in computers. Yeah, that's. I don't know
Poor
how the
guy.
laws work in Ukraine there.
Yeah, he's probably just going to go work for the government now. I know I would hire him if he had the kind of skills to be able to suck up all this information. I would want him to be on my team and use that for something good, like intellectual property theft, and not like social security numbers. Like, we want to build our own locomotive here in Ukraine. Go hack GE and give me those plans. Like, if I'm a country and I have these types of people, I'm not going to let them rot in jail. Especially if I'm like Ukraine and I got Russia like beating down my door trying to basically like reconsume me. I want to try and punch back. Maybe I can't shoot mortars, right? But maybe I want to add Russia onto the list right underneath China for ransomware payments. You get what
Well,
I mean?
yeah, and generally speaking, most hackers they do something stupid when they're young.
Hmm.
They hopefully transition to doing something smarter when they're older, but it's also having the right system to put them in. Because, Darknet Diaries has covered this a few times. Every hacker has a story of how they got there, but a lot of it is a lot of energy, a lot of aptitude, and misguided because there's not anywhere else to put it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's not a structure to throw them into
Right.
to
Maybe he
leverage
could
their skills
like
easily.
maybe his culture didn't allow him to be a legal hacker. Like, maybe he
Right.
was, forced into being, a used car salesman or something. Who knows? That sucks though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to be careful with making any kind of money online. You got to be careful. Like, make sure it is not fraud, because if you're doing that kind of stuff, there's only a matter of time before you deal with an agent who wants to just trap you, who is just like, oh, I want to buy this data just because it's available, and I want to find the person who's selling this data because this data got lifted from this machine that we know, right? And now we are trying to figure out how to, 'cause I'm pretty sure he's going to be questioned a million times about how he got 773 million emails or something like that. You get what I mean?
Yeah. In the Dark Knight Diaries episode Wormer, that was one of them that they talk about all the regrets that person had about doing this. Like, they got busted.
Right.
It spent some time, did some time. It's like, it seems exciting. It's a lot, but
It's pretty nuts. Oh yeah. So do you remember collection number one? I remember Troy Hunt talking about this. The Have I Been Pwned thing. This
oh, yeah.
was, yeah, this is collection number one. This was the guy who actually had it, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah. Contained traces of stolen data connected to collection number one. Maybe he has collection number 2, 3, 4, and 5 too.
That was a big dump.
Yeah. It kind of makes you feel like maybe somebody bought the dollar VPN club VPN, and and meanwhile he was the guy who really ran it, because it was all around the same time. Like,
Hmm.
you never know. Like, your security ends and begins with that VPN. So it's like, if Sanix is the guy that's running it, you got that potential. Oh man. Remember Locky?
Yeah. That's still around too.
Yeah, it's still around. Surprisingly, I can't imagine why in the world we can't figure out who's running it. But it looks like maybe Locky has become just one of those stubs that has just been open sourced and people are just changing it, and different ransomware gangs are using it now because I thought that we were past the point where ransomware gangs would aim at hospitals. I thought they were off the table. They're not off the table.
A
And
couple big ones agreed, but it's a loose agreement between people who make their money doing something illegal.
right.
So,
So it seems like at least these Pentaguard assholes were captured. They got raided, probably all at the exact same time, which is always interesting to me. Like, you got 40 guys, and they're all going to 4 different locations, 10 groups each, and they're all knocking on the door at exactly 5 o'clock in the morning in the different time zones. So like, there's like no fucking time to even like call ahead. Somebody's knocking, hit a panic button, nothing. It's like, it's done. I always felt like that was so interesting to me.
it's a coordinated effort like that, which is definitely interesting for sure.
And they're treat that like that's like how they come down on drug dealers and like people who are extremely dangerous. That's how they come down on computer people, and it's not because I'm running to my room to go get my AR. No, no, it's because they don't want me to take my entire server and dump it in the bathtub, right?
Yep.
Or put it into that bath of thermite that's just bubbling over there. Oh, Romania, right? We've been hearing about the Romanian hackers for some time. It looks like basically these dudes were defacing websites, um, but also dropping this ransomware, doing some weird extortion campaigns using malware such as remote administration tools, all over that area, Romania, Bucharest, all over the place. So. Um, Seems that basically they were also uh, uh, looking like they were posing themselves to spread using kind of that COVID-19 uh, hysteria that everybody was talking about. I know that we were kind of talking about that from an operational perspective. Even the FBI and NICS have all been talking about making sure that you're leery of any communications that are around COVID, and making sure that you just don't blindly follow links and those types of things. They're these are what those people look like. Mind you, this is a group of four, right?
Yeah.
So this isn't like some huge nation state. These are people that are 100% income motivated, and um, they're good
It,
social engineers. They're just trying to get a payload on your machine so that they can hack you. And it looks like quite literally aiming at these public health institutions, which
yep.
just makes them like the scum of earth,
Oh
right?
yeah. They have
It's
enough issues right now
right,
to deal with. So
man. Anyway, Locky is still being used by ransomware gangs. Be careful. Be careful. Next we have a piece of news that I love these pieces of news. Did you ever watch Dirty Money?
no.
So Dirty Money is a show that's all around like how people, are like scam artists and stuff, right?
Okay.
And they kind of show you how people like, got caught up in their fraud or whatever. So these hackers stole $10 million from Norway State Investment Fund. So this is the big stuff, right? Like this isn't like the little, botnet hackers. This isn't the four people that are trying to, hack into hospitals. This is literally the investment fund of a state that they're trying to go after, and an entire country. And this always just like fascinates me because this is going big or going home, like by definition, right?
Yeah, I mean, they manipulated and falsified information exchange between the Nor Fund and the borrowing institution over time in a way that was realistic in structure. Content of the language, document, and payment details were falsified. That's a fascinating, like, to play with these institutions.
Catch me if you can style.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you basically building a persona, building relationships with these people over a period of time. Like you're baiting every trap. You may even actually be putting real money into these accounts and actually spinning up a business, all just to make it seem like, and we're talking about 100 million in Norwegian currency.
Yeah.
It's not
I
a
mean,
little bit of money.
and saying it was wonderfully done, that's the CEO. So describing the
Right.
fraud, Norfund CEO, Telef said it was wonderfully done. And yeah, that's a quote from there. I mean, it's one of those things. It's it's still one of those things you have to look at and go, okay, it's give due or credit's due here.
Yeah, right. And we talk about that shift to working from home. Investment firms are opened up as kind of that attack. Like these type of attacks are going to be very, very targeted at them now because they are not so used to working outside of their corporate firewall and kind of their office, and they're going to be a little bit easier to kind of trick and fool even moving forward. And you got to think this has probably been happening for the last 24, 36 months that they've been building these relationships, setting this trap just to get this money. It's just
Yeah.
intense. Of course, they call it PWC because they're a part of the big four. Called some law enforcement, and yeah, It seems that fraudsters are said to have attempted to steal a jaw-dropping $9 billion from organizations through business email compromise attacks since 2016. Clicking on those links, getting your email account compromised, and then having that used for them to move laterally is just it's nuts.
That's crazy. Ah,
Crazy town, crazy train.
got a couple more stories left here.
Yeah, just a couple. Here, let me see. Let me share my screen. So for one, whoops, the Daily Swig is something that is produced by Burp Suite, and they kind of go into um, you know cybersecurity news stuff. Patch Tuesday. I kind of want to speak about Patch Tuesday. It bricked my computer. I don't like it.
It it was I think this year Microsoft has had some incredibly deep Patch Tuesdays because there has been just a laundress. It was over 100 patches in the last one.
Holy smokes!
It's just
Well,
and a lot of them were stuff like RCEs here, where there's a long laundry list of CVEs that came with this last one here.
we're
So
talking about 111 flaws, including
yeah,
16 that are critical, none
yeah,
being exploited, which means Microsoft is getting in front of their shit, which I like. Um, Critical updates for that SharePoint server is going to be a big deal because people put their secrets on SharePoint.
and they
Um,
shouldn't. But
it's
yeah,
just it's just like they don't understand what secrets are, right? Like you tell someone secrets and they think passwords. Well, no, it could be contract. It could be case data, anything. You got to be careful with that damn SharePoint. And then like in the world right now, who is using Internet Explorer and Edge?
too
Like,
many people.
why? The only way you should be using IE or Edge is to download something like Firefox or Chromium.
Pretty much. That is. uh
Oh
yeah.
man. So yeah, SharePoint got 12 security vulnerabilities. Four that were RCE. Um, that's pretty interesting. Looks like you could make oh my god, SharePoint falls victim to the same class of bug that I was exploiting last year in Confluence, a specially crafted page to perform actions in the security context of the SharePoint application pool process, also known as system. Right?
uh
It's
I've never
apparently
been a big
supposed to be
SharePoint
difficult.
fan. To me, it's always been like an overly complicated product, but man.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, Microsoft Edge, HTML, Internet Explorer, Microsoft Office, etc. all got patched. Triple digit fixes. Over 100. Um, that's pretty interesting. I've never heard of the patching matrix. Let's go give it a look. I love Sans. Oh, look at this. So, disclosed or exploited. So there's a whole bunch of no's here. So they're not really getting disclosed. But it looks like there's some criticals here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's only a 4.2 on average, there's a few criticals in here, though. That's pretty interesting. So, Chakra scripting engine memory corruption. So it's like a buffer overflow kind of thing. Um, remote code execution, media foundation memory corruption vulnerability. So like now that they've released this, people are just going to be reverse engineering their way into these exploits. Like, oh, I gotta have them now. If there's an 8.8 memory corruption for media foundation, and I'm trying to get people to play my MP3, period, hands down. Like that's just
Well, yeah, and for those of you that don't know, the way this is used is even though these weren't found in the wild, there's people running differentials right now to look at what DLLs were patched,
oh yeah,
what are the actual files that will give you the pointer to what you need to do. So by doing a differential, you're going to be able to figure out what file was changed, what DLL was changed, and then of course you'll reverse how to create exploits based on this. And despite these being released, just like we said earlier, Pulse Secure from last year still being hacked today.
yep.
People aren't updating this.
Which means this will probably be exploited over the next year in some way or somehow.
Yep.
Excel remote code execution, figured that was going to be a thing. Um, SharePoint cross-site scripting. These are things that we could find. SharePoint remote code execution. So yeah, I mean, it is a long list of things, and you know what? I actually like this because for me, what this means is that Microsoft is giving a fuck, and I like when Microsoft cares because in reality, there's certain parts of my business that I cannot run without Microsoft. Just right now, that's just the way it is. I got documents that are formatted that way. I have customers that use things that in that way. Microsoft Teams meetings, Skype. You cannot get away from it. I need Microsoft. I'm vested in Microsoft to be better because my customers have adopted it so well, right? So
Yeah.
it's a part of your life, no matter how you can make the
Put
personal choice to
Click on
run
that
Linux.
link there, the patchtuesdaydashboard.com. I've
Let's
never
get it.
seen that site. That looks pretty cool.
Ooh, Grafana.
Yeah.
That means it's gonna be pretty. Look at that spike.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of clever.
I wonder how far back can I go. This year so far, 403 vulnerabilities.
Then you can add some filters for severity.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is pretty
This
clever.
is this is pretty clever. Exploited only 9 out of 741. So this is when the numbers matter, right? Because it's like, okay, our average score here for the last year has been 6.55, and only for the last year, has 9 of these bugs been exploited. And over time, looks like it gets lower. I don't know. I don't know what this means. I don't know what this
CV
axis
base
is.
scores. Either way, this seems like a cool site to play with.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I'll play with this at some point. We'll make sure that we add this into the show notes.
Yeah. Throw it in there. I'll tweet it out too, because that's actually just kind of novel in general.
It's just not bad at all. Like, I
Mm-mm.
like that. I like that a whole lot. Any and Never the Who. What else we got here? Oh boy. So EasyJet is probably not going to make it through their situation. I
Yeah.
presume
I,
it's pretty bad.
It's rough being an airline right now. They're all in a lot of trouble. They can't fill their planes. They're doing like every other seat for travel. So there's a lot of challenges right now in the airline industry. So getting breached,
Poor
wow.
timing.
Yeah.
Poor timing. We're talking about 9 million people. Of course, UK company. So we're talking about GDPR.
That fine is going to kill them.
Yeah, quite literally may end this company. I'm not 100% sure, but 9 million people, that's a huge data breach. Largest airline in the UK, so maybe they'll survive. I didn't realize they were the largest. Um, yeah, it looks like they had to alert regulators within 72 hours since, personal information was involved. Um, it doesn't look like any of this information was misused so far, but the ICO tells them that they need to, and the ICO stands for the Information Commissioner's Office, which are the people that actually enforce GDPR. The ICO says that they need to communicate with those 9 million customers about that breach. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. Almost 40% of breaches last year involved stolen credentials. So
Yeah. Just another sad end. And British Airways, let's see. World breach cost less than a year. Fined British Airways. Wow. 183 million or 210 million US for failing to fix security vulnerabilities. Woo.
and that was only for 500,000 customers. Imagine
Yeah.
what this 9 million customer jazz is going to be like. It's going to be interesting.
Another mess.
Another mess over
Not
in
too
the UK.
surprising.
Not too surprising. I'd imagine that there's a theme going on here. Right, right.
At
People
least,
aren't patching their
hey,
things.
we made it through an entire episode without saying exposed elastic database.
Wow, yeah.
That's
Or
like a
I mean, we
buzzword for
almost
us.
made it through without saying RDP, but then
Then
Patch
that
Tuesday
happened.
kind of threw that away.
Ah, this is good. We've got an hour.
Yeah, got a good hour in content.
Yeah.
It's nice to catch up. Of course, me and you caught up a little bit before. We'll probably catch up a little bit after.
Part of the cycle and things like that. We got to brainstorm some ideas.
Yeah, yeah. We got. I think that you know, I don't know. We got to figure out exactly how to replicate some of these breaches because at a point it becomes repetitive, right? Like
Well,
how
yeah, and
many
we want to
companies have been
show.
breached through, non-patched pulse VPN?
Well, and hey, why not? Why not stand? A Pulse VPN's a good one to stand up. Like, let's
Right?
the exploit is clearly out there in the wild.
I gotta go find it. I'm pretty sure it's in Metasploit by now. Holy smokes, it's gotta be.
Yeah, we could do some run some Metasploit. I stand something up like we did when we did that video with the 2019 server. Walk through some of the tooling on there. It's kind of fun stuff to play with.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
that's
think
where
the
the
audience
fun.
would enjoy it.
Yeah, that's where the fun happens. I like doing stuff. News is fun. Don't get me wrong. I mean, because it's news. It's very relative, and we have to stay abreast of what the threats are. We got to decompose the APTs, right? That's a part of being a red teamer or a blue teamer is being able to decompose the threats. But at the same time, I want to get in there and do some stuff too, and I like to
Yeah, and
flick around
I'm
on a
gonna.
couple of buttons.
He's actually been a lot more active. And the reason why is because there's no shows for him to go to. Kyle over at Huntress Labs, the Huntress has been doing a lot more posts and more deep dives into things because all the things they were supposed to go to were canceled. So if you follow Huntress Labs, I'm just looking at their Twitter. I think they have a few more posts lately where they dive into following threats and how they identify them. So if you
Mm.
are looking for a few other things, yeah, they posted yesterday. Their head of security dove into a couple things. Here, I dropped the Twitter in the show notes. If you pull up their latest tweet, it shows how they look at the arguments to pull log file information. What was he doing there?
Here we go. Give me 1 second. And we should talk about logging. I get a lot of customers right now asking me, what should I be logging? How do I log? I think that there are people that are logging, over logging, and there are people that are under logging. And no
Yeah,
one is being extremely clear and setting a standard as to what should a log contain, how to not overlog and create that fatigue or make it hard on the forensic side of the house. You know, these types of things aren't
yeah.
being
So
specified enough. What? It just
read
said
what
that I
that
wasn't.
says.
Didn't it just okay? Live bug hunting. It just said I wasn't following, even though I knew I was. I
Yeah,
clicked follow, and now it's telling me that I want to unfollow. No,
no,
I don't want to
no,
unfollow.
you're right. ThreatOps found that there were creative footholds where hackers were parsed fake logs where the error codes were actually the payload for the data.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, I did hear about this. This was. This is amazing.
Yeah, John Farrell is head of threat ops and just a really interesting guy too.
There's another
Over at
way to do
Huntress.
this too. Using an Excel doc right now. An Excel doc, malicious Excel doc, does this exact same thing. It's nuts. Where it basically will, it's encrypted, not encrypted, but encoded, and the payload is actually inside the Excel. And what happens is, it gets unpacked somehow. I can't remember exactly how, but yeah, it's interesting nevertheless. Living off the land is what my talk was about when back for B-Sides Detroit last year. Living off the land is where it's at, man. I just love LOL Bass. If you have never been there before, um, these are just ways for you to be able to not have to install any tools to do command and control or those types of things. These is just using, you know, things that are already built into Windows to be able to do stuff.
Yep.
Like, you know, uh, you know, one of my favorites is MS Build. I think can you can literally get reverse, code. You get a reverse shell out of that. I haven't used a lot of this stuff, to be honest with you. I didn't even realize it was this many. But MSI exec is a good one. MSHTA is a good one. Um,
Wait, what's regasm?
Reg ASM. I have no idea what
I just wanted to read it as regasm.
regasm.
It just seemed funny.
Yeah, regasm. You lucky if you can regasm.
How do you get a regasm? That just sounds fun.
WMIC, W script. There's a few in here I've never played with though. I'm
Dev Tools
surprised
Launcher.
Excel.exe is just right. But I mean, it's for
Oh,
different things. Like if you want to download something, you could use Excel to download it, and it's probably not going to be either logged or flagged or anything like that. Um, just interesting to think about.
So check this out. I'm gonna drop it in there real quick. This is a good write-up from, it's down here at the bottom, Bleeping Computer. And this is a weird thing they did.
Very nice.
Yeah, but this needs to be added to the Live Off the Land.
Yeah, it does.
Because
now I got a sniffer where I could just grab hashes.
right. Like Microsoft quietly added this. This is actually really interesting because it's been I think it was in a 2018 update. Yeah, October 10th, 2018 this got added. This will do filtering, PCAP, all command line driven, and there's no documentation. So Lawrence Abrams of Bleeping Computer went through and started writing how to do all the filters on it and write the filter for it.
Oh, it's fucking badass. Yeah, I'm gonna play with this for sure. This is going to be a
Yeah,
tool set.
this is like the perfect Live Off the Land because you might get noticed if you load Wireshark.
Yeah.
Or any of the command line PCAP tools that they have for Windows, the ones that attach.
You definitely might get noticed for sure. Especially
Right,
if somebody's looking.
Right, but this is built in.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Oh, look, and you're going to get PCAP and G support coming soon. That's going to be very nice. Yeah,
this
man.
is my own interest in this tool was the fact that sometimes I have to trace something, and I don't want to load Wireshark on Windows. So, I'm usually going into pfSense and grabbing something. I usually have to do some other methodology to do it. The fact that they have something built in so I can look on Windows and watch some type of filtered network traffic to try to figure out why something's not working.
Right.
I may take the time to learn this because sometimes I have to troubleshoot Windows. We were just troubleshooting a Radius authentication issue with a VPN where Microsoft had Radius tied to AD, and when you're troubleshooting the issue, being able to just throw up a packet capture would have probably solved the problem faster. When we've solved it, but we just kept checking the boxes until one of them worked.
Right.
There's only like a few boxes, so the brute force method does work.
One of these definitely is going to work.
Yeah, we were referencing some old documentation, which is what we want to do. Is we're going to help the pfSense folks possibly. They don't know it yet. We'll help them create some documentation on how OpenVPN ties to Radius, ties to Active Directory. So
nice.
We think there's too many steps,
but that's some good content right there.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't want to. Right now, the default action in pfSense when you're creating a VPN, and this is the reason people are like, well, pfSense, I have to create a separate user pool with their built-in Radius server. Well, no, you don't. You can take Radius server, load it on Windows as well. It's native to even version 2019, and then you just do a couple connections, and away you go. Now, all of your users with the tagged user VPN, you got to create that, create the object for them. But now you can say, all right, I want to give someone in my AD list of 200 users access to VPN, and you can tie it together with something that's easier to update. pfSense.
More than one VPN too. You'll be a part of more than one. It's tied to the group now.
Yep.
Yeah, that's nice.
So, yeah, we've
I don't have to manage another set of credentials.
Right.
And there's only I'll be honest, there's only a handful of people you can afford that actually ties into your AD. So I think Global Protect is a real big one, and I think they're about the only people that actually have an MFA on top of tying into your AD.
You can actually, there's some tricky ways you can tie MFA into pfSense with Radius. You can actually force it to rotate your password based on TOTP.
That's nice.
What it's a little bit weird, you'll type your password, and with your passwords, you add the string because there's not two spots in OpenVPN to put it. So if your password's ABC and then you put the 6 digits after it, so you always type the same prefix and then the suffix is the digits all just pushed together.
Nice.
And on the back end, I think I got a video
like
on
a
this.
hash and a salt.
Yeah, it's like a hash and a salt. And it's kind of a nice way to do it because then you have the static part and then you got to put the other part. And you don't, I mean, it's not as clean as having 2 spots, but then again, it's VPN. It's not supposed to be super easy, or that's how you get pwned and end up having your law firm ransomed.
Oh, man. Too soon.
Too soon.
Oh, God. Oh. What do we got in the comments? Xavier, have you tried WSL2 since you switched back to Windows? No, I have not. I have barely switched back to Windows. I've been knee deep in just working.
I gotta admit, the Windows subsystem has gotten so much nicer. They actually allow you when you spawn the shells to do like the side by side, very similar to the way Tmux works. It's actually pretty slick. I don't use it myself, but one of my staff has gotten good at it. He's got like all the custom setup, and his PowerShell opens on one side and Bash in the other, and it's working pretty good. It's actually handy because they now use, like when they go to our jump box to get the client stuff, they have all their SSH things set up right on the command line in Windows. It looks like they're using Linux almost. It's like they've come a long way. Until an update bricks them, I mean, they're doing great.
Hey, you know what? I know how to fix the update breaking. What you do is you basically take everything out of your computer except for like one stick of RAM. Then you try and boot, and then it freaks Windows out, and then it goes, oh shit. I'm sorry, Xavier. Our update went bad. Let me just try and fix this update thing, and then we'll address why you went from having like a terabyte of RAM to having 8 gigs of RAM. We'll figure that out in a second.
Mhm.
And then once it gets its proverbial dick from out of his zipper, then I can put all of the shit back into the case. Oh man. Yeah. It really does help to have a server, like a rack mounted, PC, because in reality I don't touch the fucking thing. I barely look at it. It's like over there in the corner, and there's another disk in there that boots directly to fucking Linux. The only thing that kills me is trying to actually beat UEFI boot, because it boots so goddamn fast off of SSD. It's like you
Yes.
can't even hit F8.
Yeah. That's one of those things, like they made it harder in Windows to set the flags so you can go into the different recovery modes. And it's been like this since the early days when DOS, and we had this, we ended up with a long discussion here at the shop of the history from DOS, where I started loading floppy disk, DOS 5, then each iteration as Windows 3.0, 3.1, especially when you got into the 95 and 98s, they kept removing one piece at a time, every tool that lets you fix boot problems.
Right.
And Windows 10 is the nail in the coffin. They made it really difficult to fix.
Now it just boots and then it goes blue screen, and you're like, I didn't get a chance to do nothing.
Yeah, we do a lot of image backups for clients because of that, because we just know it might happen. So we image, and the craziest thing is when you have a homogeneous set of systems, like a dispatch group, for example, we have at a client, and they're identical. They bought all the same Dells at the same time with the same parts. We'll have 10 of them, and one of them won't update properly. Roll it back, run it the second time, it works. And we don't know what made it not work. We just know we rolled it back, we rolled it forward, it now works. I don't know. And then system 2, one time it's system number 8, next time it's system number 2 with that desk decided it didn't want to. It's kind of random.
Yeah, that's a Windows problem.
It's a Windows problem.
But anyway, enough about our bitching at Windows.
Yeah. This isn't a Windows bitch fest.
No, they may sponsor us one day.
Yeah, they can sponsor us to bitch about them.
You used to bitch at them, and then like they sponsor you a little bit. They're like, "Yo, come out to our build thing and see what we're working on." And then Tom came back like, "All right, guys, they've done some things.
They've done some things.
They've rearranged the house a bit. It's not a mess anymore."
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Well, I think that's it for me.
Yep.
I gotta get a bite to eat. My tummy hurts.
Yep. Time to go. That
food in there. Waiting.
I gotta go home. This is not, well, it feels like home, but I actually have another place I live.
Right. The place you actually sleep.
occasionally.
Oh man.
So we're gonna jump off here. Thank you everyone joining us. It was definitely a lot of fun.
As always.
As always, peace. See you guys next week, and we'll let you know on channel updates. Thanks.
I don't get to hit the button anymore. Oh wait. Maybe I do because I'm the
Yeah, you could
the
just end the
host.
Zoom stream.
I don't want to just end it. All right, whatever.
All right,
Well, Tom, later.
later.
I'm going to dinner.